Welcome back, Bricks Aquatics. Today we are in Bayport, New York. We are back here at Stillman Creek. I've done a video here before, but we're going to do one again this summer. So far, we've just been sifting through the water here with just some nets to see any cool fish species or crab species that we could find. But the true plan of today is to actually use my plankton net. I haven't really used it for a video yet, and I'm really excited to. So basically, the plan for today is to get different samples of plankton in the brackish water here, the salt water over there, and some fresh water behind me. And then I'm gonna actually check them out under the microscope and see the differences in all of the samples. So I know I'm really excited for it. And yeah, you should stay tuned to see what we find. Also forgot to mention, I am here with Owen. He will be helping in collecting all of our samples today. Our first find of the day was this decent sized mummy chog. The water today is not the clearest, so it might be a little difficult to see her or him inside, but there are a bunch of them swimming right over there where Stillman Creek meets the salt water. But she's been in here for a decent time already, so we are going to release her back into her habitat. We don't want any slow swimmers today. Alright, so the plankton net is set up and ready to go. It has very fine mesh to catch any microorganisms within the water. I'm not really sure the microns or how many microns this net is. I bought it a while ago, which microns basically describes the gaps within the net and how fine it is. So basically, you just drag it through the water, kind of like a parachute, and then this is where our sample will be collected. And then I've actually brought different bottles over here. I have brackish water, salt water, and fresh water. I'm going to put this and dump it into each one, depending where we get our water from. It doesn't have a cap on it, so I can't just close it up and take it like that. But yep, we're gonna give it a go right now and see how it works. Alright, so we're going to start off with the brackish water. If you don't know, brackish water means water with varying salinity. So we have the salt water from the Great South Bay over there and fresh water from a freshwater creek behind me. So I'm just going to lay the net down and kind of just let the water run through it. And because the mesh is so fine, it's going to pick up any microorganisms, any phytoplankton, zooplankton. This is what our sample is looking like. Not too bad, not as bad as I thought. Beautiful. Alright, so this is where I'm going to take our saltwater sample. It might be a little tricky because of the waves, but I want to get as far out there as possible so I'm not just collecting a bunch of algae and sediment, so yeah. So we actually have some bycatch. I didn't even realize I caught a bunch of little silver sides inside the collection vial. So we're gonna get those ASAP. I will definitely not be putting those in our bottle.
All right, you're on.
All right, so here goes our saltwater sample.
Oh no.
All right, the rest of this is gonna get dumped out because we do not want to bring any silver sides home. So we've made it to the freshwater spot now. This is just a little bit further north up the creek. There's not gonna be any salt water over here, so we should get a pretty uncontaminated sample. And let's try it out. Probably gonna get a lot of duckweed, but that's all right. And got a pretty good sample, so we're gonna add that to the freshwater bottle. All right, so as you can see, we made it back. I am here in my DIY lab that I have in my backyard. I also call this the she shed or the playhouse. I have my 3 samples with us that I just collected from Stillman Creek, and I will be using my microscope to examine all of those and compare and contrast each one. All right, so I'm gonna start off with what should be the most diverse sample of plankton, which is gonna be our salt water. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like. So I have been looking through the salt water for quite some time now. So far, I'm finding a lot of diatoms, dinoflagellates, some other zooplankton like copepods. And I think I'm now gonna get started on the freshwater and see what we can find in there. All right, so I've looked through both the fresh and the salt water under the microscope behind me. I found some pretty neat looking plankton and I can't wait to identify them. For the most part, I know what I've been looking at so far, but there are a few that I'm going to have to do some research on. I'm not going to look through the brackish water. I think it's going to be a lot of things that we've seen already within the salt or the fresh. So I think getting both of those should be pretty cool enough just to see the differences between both. I don't really think the brackish water is going to offer anything that interesting that we haven't already seen. Some things that I probably could have done better in this video. I waited a little bit too long to examine the plankton, so there may have been a loss of diversity as far as what I was looking at under the microscope. Some of it may have died off within the past few hours, so I probably could have been a little bit faster with that. Another thing, I would definitely like to improve my plankton netting skills. You probably noticed that the bottle was a little buoyant as I was taking all of those samples. It was a little bit hard because I was in very shallow water for the most part, but next time I could probably go back and forth a little bit more just to get a more concentrated sample of plankton, and maybe that would help increase the biodiversity that we're seeing in our samples here. But that is just about where I'm going to end the video. I'm going to go and do some research on what I've been looking at under the microscope now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy videos like this, looking at microscope content, please let me know in the comments. I love making this stuff. It is tedious, but it is what I love to do. So thank you for watching, and I will see you again in the next video.